I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Michele Arnese.
Were so obvious to everybody, and everybody would say, yes, of course, we never thought about using sound in more in a strategic way, but every brand has already a sound. The question is, who defines that and where the sound is coming from?
Designed in Italy and assembled in Germany, Michele is a self-driven, strategic, and creative thinker with a strong entrepreneurial approach. He founded the worldwide leading sonic branding agency AMP in 2009. In the field of audio branding, he's considered one of the world's foremost experts, with clients including Mercedes-Benz, Mastercard, Deloitte, Porsche, BBVA, Geberit, BMW, UniCredit, Mini, Triumph, the Linde Group, and a range of international awards for his work with AMP, among others, 4 Red Dot Awards in a row and an ADC in silver. He's a member of the prestigious Audio Branding Society and also guest professor at the renowned design university NABA, Nuova Accademia delle Belle Arti in Milan, where he teaches sound branding for the Master's Certificate in Sound Design. My interview with Michele is coming right up, but first, as a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn Ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. You have less than 1 month left to get special early bird pricing for the Creator Economy Expo 2023. This event, folks, is for content creators and entrepreneurs interested in building and growing their content-first businesses. Do not miss this show. Join over 500 bloggers, podcasters, authors, newsletter writers, speakers, consultants, and freelancers at the learning and networking event for content creators. Plan to attend May 1st through the 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio. Register now to secure early bird pricing before it disappears March 31st. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. As a special offer, you can get $100 off just for listening to MPN shows like this one. Go to cex.events to register. Use the coupon code MPN100. The address, the URL, cex.events. That's the whole thing. Type that into your browser. cex.events. The code you use, MPN100. The Creator Economy Expo, Cleveland, May 1st through the 3rd. See you there.
Michele Arnese, welcome to On Brand.
Hi, Nick. Thank you. And a great Italian pronunciation, by the way. Compliments.
You
sound Italian.
Can we say that I just stole everything from watching Stanley Tucci's Searching for Italy. So that's you can blame Stanley Tucci for anything I did right or wrong. So
yeah.
Well, I am excited to chat specifically about your work in the field of audio branding. And I think it's important to even define that a bit. So because it seems like audio is really can be pretty vast. So what are the elements that make up our audio brand?
This is an interesting question because it's very hard to define with something very specific if people don't yet know it. I mean, sonic branding is something, if you take the entire branding journey, something new, if you can consider. I mean, we are doing this since more than 10 years, but the developments and the way brands are embracing their sonic identity, something can we consider being new. So how we define it? Let's say if a brand, right, can be defined as, I love to define a brand like a journey. So like you are traveling. I'm a passionate traveler. So it's a travel location. So sonic branding is, the soundtrack to this journey. So is the emotional trigger that you get through your ears that connects you and basically consumers to the brand throughout the journey. And the journey can go through different moments, through different channels, through different touch points. But it's like, like a journey, and this is the soundtrack of this journey, basically.
Yeah, I love that idea of a journey, and again, it kind of conjures the image of a journey with a soundtrack. So, but I think you hit the nail on the head in on really branding in a lot of ways. In I always lean on definitions, and your answer out of the gate of it is hard to define something that we kind of know what it is, but we're experiencing it,
Yes.
and we don't always have words for it. So,
and Nick, just to interrupt you on that, and this is obvious because when we, many years ago, when we started to explain to the potential clients, you need a sonic identity, what it is, and then we used some examples, everybody was saying, of course, because sound is nothing new, but the way that you approach sound from a branding perspective, this is the new thing. So we use examples like the sound of use it in the Catholic Church, for example. Like it's a perfect brand, but the sound makes everything really coming to life if you are in a church, like the way the people sing, the bell, which is a signal sound, the way you the lyrics you use, right, and the instruments. They have a branded instruments like the organ, and all these kind of things were so obvious to everybody. And everybody would say, yes, of course, we never thought about using sound in more in a strategic way. But every brand has already a sound. The question is, who defines that and where the sound is coming from?
Again, I think you've said something that is obviously applicable to sound, but really, I think if you could almost remove the descriptor sound to that, and I think it applies to the brand as well, because more often than not, you have some sort of experience. You have meaning associated with your brand. But yeah, you're absolutely right there. So, say you're a brand, you've got a lot of automotive experience, and you're an automaker. How do you go about figuring out what that journey of sound sounds like?
In terms of process, right? So, the process, at the beginning attempt, we trying to, and by the way, what we do, we invented this job. We invented this process. So we were thinking, how can we describe, a sonic branding process? And then there are some people who say, this is like a very hocus pocus Harry Potter kind of process where, you put something inside and then you say abracadabra, and then you have the sound, and this is absolutely, the sound of the brand. I was thinking, coming from, a design perspective, I was thinking, we need to just have a clear design-oriented process, because we don't work alone in a silos. We work with other people working on the visual brand, working on other aspects of the overall brand identity. So the process that we use to define the sound of a brand is just the design oriented. So we analyze the brand at the beginning. We try to open the book and understand and read the brand story, the purpose, the mission, everything that makes the brand unique. We take this and we translate this into what we call sonic principles, which is just the auditive translation of what is already there from the brand. So we don't invent anything new on the branding side, but we just translate it into sound. And then we try to put some mood boards behind that, just and reflect to with the client together. Are these mood boards on brand or off brand? And then we create a definition that is being used then to craft basically the unique compositions and sound for the brand. We call it sonic DNA, like the core sound of a brand, where everything is derived from. So if you want the sonic DNA, it's the central part of our process. And this is the design system, the auditive design system of a brand. You have ingredients. And then after you buy the ingredients, you start to cook, right? So we go to the sonic DNA, we take ingredients and melodies and everything contained in that core, and we create sonic assets depending on the brand's touch points. So we create a sonic logo as an execution of the DNA for example, the end frame of an ad, or we create a soundscape for a virtual room, right, for where the brand is creating an experience, or we create the music for always on content or social media. So it's the process very design, create, and then use in the implementation, and then go to the touch points and implement what we created. In this way, we can build an interface to agencies working with us and clients, of course, that can understand where we are in the process.
Yeah, I think that that's so important to think about what that process looks like, and it also, I love the idea of the sonic principles that are really kind of not invented new, but are overlays of that analysis. What do those sonic principles? What can they look like for a brand, or how does that work? That's an intriguing concept.
Yes. For example, if you have a inclusivity, right, as a principle, of course, what does it mean to sound inclusive, right? So we translate that meaning and of inclusivity into the sound domain, and means, for example, that everybody across different cultures can sing a melody from this brand, right? So it's something that is singable. But what does it mean, singable? Means that the interval, so the notes we are using for this melody, they are not so far away from each other. Otherwise, it's very difficult to sing. Maybe you can play with a piano, but you cannot sing it. And if you cannot sing it, you cannot approach it as a human being, right? So this is the way we have a rational behind everything, which is at the end not important, because the final results, of course, matter. But how we are going there, we are trying to create exactly what you described as a brand in the sound domain.
And I think as we think about where that sound manifests itself too, because I think a lot of times we tend to, when it comes to things audio, over-index on the sounds in our marketing content and creative, but the entire ecosystem of a brand. I mean, again, I'm thinking back to, and probably it's because I was just in my car earlier, and I think about, now I'm reverse engineering kind of some of perhaps what those sonic principles might be of what it's like when I get into my car, because sound is really more than just a soundtrack for your creative. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You are right. And the car is a fantastic example, right? So sound is something, and this also has to do with the digital transformation that, brands have. The brand experience got fragmented. So sound is basically everywhere in the products, in the everyday interaction with the brands, in experiences, and of course also in the soundtrack of an ad. But this is not more like 20 years ago or 10 years ago, not more just the top point of communication, that's it. So it got a lot fragmented. And so I always like to think about sound about like something fluid, right? So the sound of the brand goes to very different containers, like a fluid, and adapts to these different containers. If you start your car and you push the button, or you interact with the cockpit, or if you have an app of your car brand, right, and use the app, everything should be kind of connected, because everything is just another chapter of the same story. So having a sound identity that is flexible enough to go through the entire brand and customer experience, I think this is the goal for 2023 for a brand that wants to embrace a sonic branding journey. Not more like, okay, let's do a mnemonic for the last 3 seconds of an ad like it was 20 years ago. And by the way, due to the fragmentation of the brand communication, probably if you have only a sonic logo of the brand for the last 3 seconds of an ad, you never go there, because for paid media you can skip after the 5 first seconds, so you never get to your sonic branding if you define the sonic branding as just one element in the brand communication and ATL.
On Brand will be right back after this. As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long, and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn Ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn Ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn Ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Freelancing in online marketing often looks ideal from the outside, but what's inside? Many time-consuming challenges. SEMrush offers over 50 tools and reports to assist you in every step of your routine, from competitive and keyword research to link building and technical SEO. SEMrush is your digital team member. Let's hit it off. Grab your free trial today and see measurable results. Go to bit.ly/SEMrushMPN. That's bit.ly, bit.ly/SEMrushMPN.
Now, back to the show. So your award-winning work for clients is really exemplary in the field of sonic and audio branding. Do you have a favorite client? Not a favorite client. I know no one can answer that, but a favorite client story of walking through this process and really building one of these sonic brand profiles from the ground up.
Yes, I mean, I have many different. One very close to my heart is the Grand Prix for sound we won at the Red Dot Awards for Linde, where we didn't do something typical. It's not about a sonic identity developed over different channels, etc. We just had an idea to, and Linde does gases, right? So healthcare gases and industrial gases. So you have something that as a product you cannot see and you cannot smell, right? Mm-hmm. So we had the idea to create for each gas of the atmosphere, to create a generative sound that translates the personality of the gas into sound. So you have some very light gases, very, fast moving gases like helium, and you have more heavy gases, and you feel that, this kind of slowly moving molecules. And we translated the gases into soundscapes for a campaign that was there to explain to the people why the products of Linde are everywhere, from LCD screens to hospitals and etc. And this was a huge success. We won this award at the Red Dot Awards. And for me, it's like an example how sound can bring something to life that other senses sometimes cannot.
That's so well said. And I think that we don't think about the role that sound plays. But it is an incredibly powerful connection point. You mentioned something interesting in there too, not related to that particular project, but the idea of a sonic identity. I think in general, in brand, we tend to go straight to the visual identity of a logo. But does every brand need a sonic, a clearly defined sonic identity system as well?
Well, I think yes. Because a brand exists in a context. So if you have a moment of truth where the brand connects with people, and this could be B2B or also B2C, so it could be consumers, but also in the B2B space, you need a sound because the sound reinforces that moment of connection. The question is maybe you don't need a fully fledged sonic identity holistically over channels and channels for all brands. That's true. But I think having a brand on mute is something that is not something you really want from a branding perspective. So I would answer your question, Nick, with yes. But of course, the execution of that sonic identity depends very strongly on the footprint of the brand. But every brand should have a sound.
That's a really good point because I think everybody, you hear of sonic identity and you think immediately that you need your own Intel inside
jingle.
Yeah, exactly. But I think your definition there is really helpful in seeing that sonic identity itself can be more diverse than, I mean, Intel's a great example and it's one everybody can easily point to, but I think the danger there is everyone thinking that, we need one of those exactly, when that soundtrack has lots of different emotional, I want to call them touch points, but you don't touch audio, but it touches the
ear
consumer.
points.
Yeah, the ear points. There
ear
we
points.
Go.
We find now a new name for that. Ear points. I love it.
There we go. Well, we've accomplished all kinds of important work here already on the On Brand podcast. It seems like that we're. I mean, from the outside, you are centered in sound, but from the outside, it seems like in the past few years, we're hearing a lot more about this, about sound and sonic branding. Is there some sort of reason of why we're hearing more about it now, or is it just seem that way? Has it always been there?
I mean, probably I'm the wrong one to answer that question, but I'm joking. I see that point because we see how clients are reacting, right, to the topic. There was 5 years ago more an outbound on our end, so we had to talk to clients and look, sound is very important for you for this reason. Now it turned the other way around, so brands are reaching out to us and say, hey, we need a sound and we know that. How can you help us to set up a proper process that we know that we are going there where we need to go? So I think it's due to the fragmentation of the brand ecosystem, basically. So there are some situations where sound is really important because for example, if you think about the work that we did with Mastercard, so the payment moment, right? It's really an emotional and functional moment for a consumer that uses his Mastercard, and adding sound to that moment created a higher level of let's say trust in consumers than the level that was just with a visual animation of a check, right, paying. And I mean, this is something that the brand needed to improve the customer loyalty and the customer trust. So, and this was something that has been introduced recently. So the moments where sound can really connect brands with consumers are much more. That's why you are, hearing more about the topic of sound, because in a visually cluttered world, and also in some touch points where visual cannot be used, I think sound is the strongest medium that you can, pick up and use in your brand communication.
That's such a great point about the both the fragmentation and kind of the why. So well done with a clumsy question that I asked you. You did a great job, and a good mention of Mastercard. We spoke with Raja Rajamanar
Mhm.
of Mastercard, and we'll link up to that episode in these show notes as well. So, as someone who also spends some time in the classroom, if we were to approach this like as a classroom exercise, if listeners are out there thinking, "Gosh, we really haven't thought enough about sonic branding," what is a something that someone could do or start to think about that would help move them forward on this process?
On the brand side, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think the most important thing is to open up your mind. And the when we start working with new clients, the very first meetings, like 3, 4 meetings, are really deeply educational. Because the problem with sound is also, and this is the power of sound at the same time, is that you are very subjective when it comes to this topic. So, and because the topic is so strong, right? You can feel emotions if you see some colors, but you cannot really avoid being strongly hit by emotions if you listen to some sound or music. So my suggestion is to really to try to put your own taste apart in such a process. And also, this is the reason why at AMP we started very early to use data in the entire design process to support decision, because people are very, very different when it comes to sound. In general, the clients are divided into two groups. The first is the ones who, they don't want to say anything because they know that they are very subjective. The second group is the people who think they are DJs. Everybody is a DJ, right? So, and there is nothing in between. So that's why my main point and recommendation is have a design-oriented process and use data to validate what are you doing during the sound process, especially at the beginning. So use your creativity and fantasy to define, your metaphors, your journeys, your purpose in sound, but use data to validate that.
I love that, and I love that everyone thinks they're a DJ, because I hard agree. I think that is certainly something out there, and especially when you're talking about the domain of sound, that's probably prevalent. Well, that certainly makes me smile, and it is now time for me to ask you, Michele, for a brand that has made you smile recently.
So smile is nice because it's lighthearted and is nice. A lot of brands, but maybe one, because just happened, it's one client, is Avocados from Mexico. When we started working, we worked on their sonic identity end of last year. We prepared the commercial for the Super Bowl. And the first time we got the offline cut, right, to create also the music for the Super Bowl. And I watched the story, and this made me really, smile, because the idea is such a great metaphor, having the big apple transformed into the big avocado, with this, people feeling better, nice to each other, and there is avocados everywhere. And the story was very funny, also because there was like a Steve Jobs presenting the iPhone in the story, and this was an avocado that is also, it's also a music player, it's also a phone, but it's an avocado at the end. This made me very, very so made me smile. And also the music we created was inspired by that, using the New York swing, a big band sound in this kind of big avocado city. So I think brands are sometimes really able to make you smile and make your day. So this was one recent example.
I love it. That is a great example and has certainly made me smile as well. Michele, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Very easy. I think go to ampsoundbranding.com to see the work we do at AMP, and my LinkedIn profile, Michele Arnese on LinkedIn, and happy to start a lot of conversations around sound. I'm always love people who reach out with questions and curiosities. We work with a lot of brands worldwide, but also with the university students. So just reach out to me in LinkedIn or to AMP at ampsoundbranding.com. This is where we are.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can always find at onbrandpodcast.com. Michele, thanks for being on brand with us.
Nick, it was really a pleasure. Thanks for having me. And looking forward to get feedback from this fantastic talk.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.